All right, so we're going to just do a brief little explanation of what you're going to be seeing in Module 2. It begins this week, and that is the week of September 3rd, and it's going to be going on for about another week or so. So you've got a little bit of time to get familiar with the concepts in this module. We're going to be learning saber versus conocer and when to use each verb. We're going to review some of our preterite tense verbs, and we're going to be learning about professions. So just a tip for the vocabulary, because I've noticed it a little bit in some of the presentations that have been uploaded. Do I use ser or estar to describe a profession? When you're discussing someone's profession, you're going to use the verb ser because when you want to say that someone is something or someone does something for a living, it's describing them, and those descriptive adjectives are going to use ser versus estar. So when you're saying I am a teacher, I would say yo soy profesora. A lot of people translate directly when they want to say what they are or say what their parents are, what their grandparents do for a living. So, for example, if I wanted to say I am a doctor or she is a teacher, a lot of people think what they should do is write I am a doctor. She is a teacher. And you actually don't use an article when you're describing a profession. So instead of soy un médico, it would be yo soy médico. Ella es profesora. Nosotros somos estudiantes. We don't say nosotros somos los estudiantes. We don't use an article. So just remember that when you're working on your discussion, your vocabulary project, your let's see, when you're recording your sentences for those assignments, make sure that you're not using an article. What you're going to be seeing is the preterite tense verbs. So you're reviewing your AR, ER, and IR preterite tense verbs. So the AR verbs have their own ending. However, ER and IR have the same endings in the preterite tense. So if you have a regular ER or a regular IR verb, it actually has the same endings. Iste, io, imos, ieron. That is hopefully a little bit helpful. You don't have to feel like you have to memorize 3 charts, but rather just 2 for the regular preterite endings. Another thing you're going to be seeing is the concept of conocer versus saber. So just remember that you use conocer when you describe knowing people or having an acquaintance with them. So when you know a person, you're going to use the verb conocer. They both mean to know. So how do I use each one correctly? So conocer is used when you're talking about knowing people. I do use a when it's followed by person because there's something called a personal pronoun or the personal a in the Spanish language. When I'm using a subject after a verb, there's going to be an a in between. So yo conocí a mi esposo en una fiesta. Yo conozco a Juan. Conocer is also used for saying that you've been to or visited a place or you have knowledge about a place. So the last slide said we describe knowing people with conocer, and we describe knowing places with conocer. Like, I'm familiar with Italy, conosco Italia. Diego knows a good place to eat. Diego conoce un buen lugar. So again, conocer is used for knowing places and knowing people. Saber is a little bit different. Sorry, there's one more slide I forgot about. It's also used when you're describing meeting someone for the first time. And if you're using it negatively, like I don't know your friend or my parents don't know my friend or haven't met my friend, you just write no in front of the verb conocer. Saber is used when you know facts. So conocer was people and places. Saber is knowing facts like who, what, when, where, why, and how. One example that I think will really help you distinguish when to use which one is this sentence here. Did you know that Angelica has two sons? Did you know that Angelica has two sons? So someone might look at this and say, hold on a second, you told me that we use it when we're describing knowing people. It's not, do you know Angelica's two sons? It's, did you know the fact that she has two sons? So when you're describing knowing facts, it will be saber. You'll use the verb saber when you can answer who, what, when, where, why, and how. And these are just a few examples of those. Saber is used when you're talking about abilities or skills that you learned, like driving or painting. So if I were to say, do you know how to speak Portuguese? Sabes hablar portugués? I wouldn't say conoces portugués. Are you familiar with Portuguese? Because it would be only with people and places that I use conocer. Knowing other things is going to be saber. So, en resumen means basically the difference can be summarized as conocer is to be familiar with a person or visited a place. Saber is to know a fact or information, to have the ability to do things or skills. All right. So, gracias, and please let me know if there are any questions I can answer for you.